All right, so here we are on this one, and this is exactly what I was talking about, where basically they don't give you specifically what you have to type in. So in the first portion, what they're doing is showing us different commands. Like this is able to list this ls block. If we did a rough translation of what are we seeing here, what we're seeing here is every single partition off of two different devices. And so we have an SDA labeled, and then it's a bunch of partitions in the SDA. And then we have SDB, and then a bunch of partitions in SDB. So these first two, these ones that are indented, more to the left of your screen, that's saying, hey, this is actually a physical device I have, and it's been named SDA. And here's a physical device I have, and it's been named SDB, A and B. So that's what we're seeing. That's what that command does. Now we move down, and you get the df command. Now the df command is similar to us, but it shows a bit different information. It shows a lot more of what we would see in the operating system. These things we don't necessarily see in the operating system. A lot of these are hidden and used for different purposes. We don't see them, but we do see this information in the operating systems, and that's what the DF is telling us. So when we want to actually mess with a partition, destroy something, delete something, set up a brand new drive, we use a program called fdisk. And fdisk, that name comes from the old DOS fdisk. That's what you used to do because it was a fixed disk. That's what they called hard drives. In other words, you didn't remove it from the computer like a floppy drive. So it's a fixed disk, and that did not, there it goes. So this needs to be run with admin privileges, otherwise you can't really do anything in there. It actually is very good to run it not as an admin. If you want to just look at information, just do fdisk L. But sudo is going to make it so we can change stuff. This gives us a ton of information. It tells us we might have some issues here with these partitions, but we note if we got to go back way up here, right? Here's our DF, and then here's our fdisk. So right here is where we start to see information about the file system and the partitions, all of this. So we see that they're listing out SDA and they're listing out SDB and all the different partitions that are listed there and what kind they are. This is Linux file system. That's a Chrome, Linux, right? They're telling us specifically what type of file system they are, which is great. That's fine. So that's what fdisk is doing for us. So then down here, they say, hey, if you want to get, specific information, then you can put these switches on and get specific information. So here's fdisk L again, but we're telling it, hey, can you just give me that SDB stuff? And so if we scroll up, we'll take a look at where I entered that command, someplace buried in here, right? That's the hard thing. Oh, there's our DFH. There's our sudo fdisk. That's our first one. So I went too far. It's hard for eyes, right, to catch on. There it is. All right, so that's where we issued the command. And so you'll see that it just gave us SDB information. So now we move down. Now we're actually getting to the actual real work. And it warns you, don't do this on your own system, because unless you know what drive you're on, physical device you're on, you could really destroy things. So we're going to do some mounting and some unmounting. Usually to mess with a storage space, you have to unmount it so that the file system can't access it, and then you access it with the program that you're using, the utility that you're using, set that stuff up, and then you mount it again. And then the file system, the operating system can see it. That's what I should say. The OS can now see it. But take a look at this command. This command is not, and this is what I meant before, is not complete. Sudo fdisk dev second drive. So if you just hit enter on that, it's like, that's a bad usage. So they're not giving you the exact command. Now, if you click here, we'll see what they're going to have us do. So that's what they want us to do. And notice that this is going to dump us into a different situation. The prompt is going to change here. So when that doesn't have the information you need, zoom in on these pictures and take a look at what's going on, and pay close attention, because then when you go back, you'll want to know, did that do that right? Did I get that correct? Right? So that's what we're going to type. Yep, let me click over here. So I'm just hitting up arrow. That's finally. Right, so we're going to get rid of that, and we're looking there. They have us typing in here SDA. So I'm going to do that. So now I've got exactly what they have on the screen. I've done that. And so now FDIS, they tell you now you want to switch into interactive mode. And so you are in interactive mode. So you want to go in and take a look, and M is miscellaneous here, print the menu. A capital M is interprotective hybrid, MBR, that kind of thing. And so let's scroll down down to that, and it says you can use P to show details about the partitions. So see, I could hit M just like they had, and look at that, it's showing me the menu for help. And then I will notice that P is right here to show details. And then I should get this. So I will hit P, right? So these are the things that you have to do. These are the steps that they want you to do, but they're not letting you copy and paste it. So I'm P, and look at that. It's the same information and what I'm seeing. They're really good about that, I have to admit. And then I'm going to hit Q. Right. And the whole idea behind that was just to go, look at that. I got into where I could really do some damage, and I got out. Right. And now creating partitions. So we viewed them. Now we're going to take a look at them. So here again, we can copy and paste that in, but it's not going to successfully work. We're going to have to put in what they want. And if I zoom in on that, it'll be SDA. That's the one you are normally dealing with. Oops. And I have a hard time getting that back over there. All right, so we've got what we need. We got M for help here. And so this is what it's going to do. You want to create a new partition. The command control is N is used. However, since all the space on the disk is currently allocated, you need to actually delete some first. So if I wanted, I could hit M again. That's not going to affect getting a bad grade. So I can see what's going on in this. But they're telling me straight off, use the D command to control the delete default partitions. And then they give you the information, right? And then so here it is, right? I'm going to enter D, and it's like, which one? 1 through 12, the default is 12. And then you hit enter. The default is 11. You hit enter. So basically what they're doing is saying delete everything. So you're hitting D, whoops. Default's 12, meaning I just hit enter, it deletes 12. D, default's 11, default's 10, right? It goes all the way down 2 and 1. So, there's obviously different ways to do this, but this is what they're having you do. Whoops. Oh, yeah, I'm good. Got nothing, right? Last one, selected partition 1. Partition 1 has been deleted, right? Now you're able to create new partitions. Now we can hit new, and this is what we're going to get. N, partition number, the default is 1. We're going to, apparently we don't put anything there, right? Because it doesn't have a number right behind here. And then the first sector is from 34 to whatever that is. And the default is save some space on the front, 2048. And there's nothing there. So that means we're accepting the default. And then the last sector, right? And then it tells you the default, and there's nothing there. So thankfully, really what we're doing is we're hitting N, we're accepting the default, we're accepting the default, we're accepting the default, right? And now you just created this. That's what that's telling us. So now we move to the next thing, and it's given us some information like, hey, default N, this is what happened, right? Create a new partition 1 type Linux file system and the size of 1023. So I went too far, and I created the default size. I was supposed to create one of 1023. Well, that's okay. And so I'll delete that partition. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead, whoops, and do not an M but an N, and set the default to accept the default, and then, oops, I'm going to put in 2097200. 2097200. 1023. 1023. All right, I got it. So I had to back up a little there, didn't I? All right, use the N command to make a new partition again. And that's why they wanted me to make a smaller one, right? They wanted me to be able to create several partitions instead of just say, I'll make one, the default is to use the max size. You know, and honestly, the truth is you wouldn't really use this type of setup unless you were on a server that had a lot of space. And so the systems you're setting up, maybe you got a server that's got 48 terabytes of space. And so you're splitting that up for file storage and such. All right, so we hit new. Default is 2. They don't have, see, the partition 2 number sequence. There we go. Now we got this prompt right here. And what sector does it want us to use? Doesn't look. Let's make sure on this one. Yeah, so they're not having us type anything in. So yeah, we're going to use the whole rest of the hard drive. So we're going to take that, whoops, this, and there we are, 9 gigs. Sorry, that keeps flying in the way there. Look at that. Sweet. We created a second partition. All right, so now we have to enter Command Control T to change the partition table and select the first partition. So this T, let's take a look at what that is saying. So we can go back and hit M, and we can look on this list and go, where's my T? Okay, so that's change partition type. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to say, I want to change a partition type. And then it's like, what? Which one? And they have us doing 1, right? So not the default, but I want to change the partition type of 1. Now, what are you really doing here? Well, a partition type is basically saying, what kind of format am I going to use with this? For Windows, right, that's NTFS. For Apple, it's the Apple file system these days, or HPS. And then Linux, you know, ext2, 3, 4, there's a lot of different ones you can use. And so that's what we're talking about. You know, is this going to be FAT32 or exFAT? What are we going to do with it? And then they want you to see, okay, well, at this point, if you don't know, I don't know what to do, I'm going to type a capital L, and it's going to list out all these different partition types that this particular version of Linux will actually understand. And that is a lot, right? That is lots of stuff you can do with it. There's VMware on there. So we're going to enter 19. So if we look at our list and say, well, what the heck is 19? 19 is a Linux swap file. So we're going to create a Linux swap file because they don't use a virtual space the same way. So we enter 19 and enter, and now it's a Linux swap file. And notice we still Command M for help, so we're still within our F disk. All right, now at this point you can, you've just been editing the partition table in memory, and you can use the Q command here to quit F disk without committing the changes to disk. So that's a very nice thing. Remember, they warned you, don't mess with this stuff because you could really screw it up. But the truth is at this point, we've done all this deleting and all this creating, and none of it has been committed to actual disk, meaning change it. It's just all floating around. And if you've worked with some disk utilities, you know, in Linux or Windows, you'll recognize that's true. You can go through, delete things, make all sorts of stuff 10, 15 times until you hit apply or commit, and then it'll do it. So you can also use the V command here to verify your changes. So if you're like, what the heck did I do? I am not sure. Then right? You can use V to give you that information. And then when you're satisfied, you can commit them to disk by using the W command. So they actually show right here, W. So they're showing you, hey, you're going to do that. So we hit W and boom, boom, boom. And it said it failed to remove devices, resources are busy. That may be because I've done so many things to it. And so this should have happened, right? It should have said, okay, you're syncing disk. Now, maybe this is what you're coming up to. Maybe you've watched this whole thing like, dude, that's exactly what I did. And then this part is happening. And that is a problem, right? So if I check my progress, my partitions did not go through right here. They didn't go through. And honestly, I would want to just kill this whole thing and start over. So I didn't know this was going to happen. So if this did happen to you, there's nothing I can do to help you. You'll have to keep chatting with them. And I would take these screenshots and let me know what they say, because about the only thing I can do is go through this whole thing again and chat with them and tell them, hey, students are having trouble with this. I'm having trouble with this. What's the problem with this? Because right here, this should have worked. This should have happened. Unless I missed something in all of this, but I don't believe I did. So watch this video. Let me know what the answer is. Hopefully you didn't get this at the end. It committed it all. You actually got this, and that would have checked it out and gone through. If it didn't and did this, then yeah, start chatting, but let me know. Say, yeah, that's the same error I got. That's what I was talking about. And then I can chat with them too. So we'll both be hitting them with, hey, dudes, this needs to be fixed. In the meantime, work on a different problem. You know, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. They have had some growing pains. So anyway, that is that. I'm going to post this and send you the link and then hear back from you. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for everything, and thanks for your patience.